Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's edition of the It's Just Dinner podcast. I'm your host, Tom Robinson, and here with me, as always, my good friend, Bob Walz.
Good to be here, Tom. Thanks for having me again. It's a pleasure.
You're sitting right next to me.
We're right next to each other this time.
We have a crowded room in here.
We do. You've got a lot of friends. I didn't know you had any friends, but apparently you've got 4.
I do want to introduce someone that's going to be working with us. Lauren?
Hi.
Do you want to introduce yourself really quick?
Yeah. My name is Lauren. I am looking to apply to the advertising program this semester, and I'm from Layton, Utah, and yeah, I like to do all this film stuff.
Yeah, helping us out with the engineering.
Great to have somebody.
She's going to be working with us.
You mean somebody who knows what they're doing right here on this podcast? Come on.
Yeah, so we're going to have Lauren with us for a while, and
That's
we're very
great.
excited
Welcome.
about that.
Welcome, Lauren.
So Lauren is in my introduction to advertising class,
okay.
and she is in a group of 4 people.
Mm-hmm.
And we were talking the other day with that group, and they are just so funny and so exciting,
Is
and they have
this
some
that
amazing
group?
stories. They're
This is a group.
They're sitting right here across from us.
Ah.
So would you guys like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi, I'm Chance. I'm from Kaysville, Utah.
Welcome.
I'm Claire. I'm from Denver, Colorado.
And I'm Bailey, and I'm from Draper, Utah.
Draper. Woo-hoo.
Great.
Woot, woot.
Great to have you all here.
Okay, so these guys were in class the other day, and I was talking to them, and they were talking about missionaries and when missionaries come home.
Yes.
And these young women had some funny stories and some interesting stories that were going on. And they were just kind of laughing, and I looked over at Chance, and he wasn't laughing. And so I invited Chance here.
Not
to maybe
funny, huh? Not so funny when it's you they're laughing at, is it?
And so, so I invited Chance to defend all of the male population.
Oh, no pressure, Chance.
So he is here to defend and talk about what the heck happens when these young men come home for a mission. So, Claire, why don't you tell us kind of what your experience was really quick, and we'll let Chance defend this.
Well, so I had a friend who obviously had been on a mission for 2 years, and we were friends in high school, and he came home and he told me that he wanted to hang out, and I was like, okay, great. Like, yeah, let's catch up. And so we were hanging out. We went to Sonic, and he just pretty much, I was telling him about my school and all that kind of stuff that I was kind of focusing on right now. And he was like, yeah, I mean, I just got off my mission, and the next step for me really is just I need to go find a wife. And I was like, oh, wow, that's crazy. I'm not going to get married for like 5, 10,
You're not looking
20
at me.
years. That's crazy. Wow. We're on way different life paths. And it's just like so funny because, I don't know, it was just kind of awkward. And he was like kind of trying to make a move, but I was just kind of like, oh, yeah, I'm not getting married anytime soon. It's not even in my sights right now. And it was just really weird because he had just gotten off his mission, like, even, like, a few days before we hung out.
Whoa.
And I was
Fresh
like,
off
oh,
the
my
boat.
gosh, you're, like, already trying to, like, scope out and, like, snatch up a wife.
Yikes. Bailey, have you had experience like that?
Yeah, going along with what Claire just said, when I was on my mission, I would hear the elders talk about, and I still hear some of the boys that I know talk about this, about having leads. Or having,
like when you were a missionary, you had
leads or like contacts, right? Or
right.
like potential investigators.
Do you keep those in
PIs,
the
they call
keep those in
PIs.
the area book?
Yes. So you like write down all your PIs, you know, the numbers you've gotten for them, and
Right.
and then next step is to like invite them to church or invite them to have a lesson.
Right, right.
And they they apply that.
We've talked
to
about
dating.
contact, invite, convert.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
Wow.
So they invite that to dating, and the elders will talk amongst them like, oh, how many PIs do you have? Like how many leads do
So
you
they
have?
actually use the terminology
Yes,
from
they
the
do.
mission?
They do
Oh.
use that
Well,
terminology, and then
You do what you know.
and then so you have a list of your PIs, and then when you get home, you contact all those PIs, those prospects, and you pursue them and see if any
So
of them are
these
good
are marriage.
for you.
These are marriage prospects.
Yes.
Yeah. Lauren, what about you? Are you taking notes, Chance?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right.
He's taking arrows is what he's taking.
Yeah, pretty much. This past year, we're friends now, so it's all good. But this elder like reached out to me, and then because we had served together on the mission, so he was getting ready to come home. He reached out to me. He was like, "Hey, we should hang out," and then it ended up becoming like a double date. Super fun. It was super great, and I was like, okay, like this was a good time. Like I enjoyed being around him and stuff. And then like the next week, like things just like, you know, they just kind of didn't really go anywhere. And so I was like, okay, like whatever. And then a month later, I find out that he's engaged to another sister from our mission.
Wow.
Who had gotten home only like 2 months before he did. And
Wow.
so it was like, I don't know, for me, I was very grateful because I would not be ready
You were
that
not
fast.
that
But like
one.
for them, it works. And
Right.
But
right.
it was just like, I was so shocked that, you know, you would be engaged after just a month. So.
Okay, Chance, can you defend any of that?
Any
of that behavior?
Any of that behavior. I don't know about defend. Maybe explain. Maybe an explanation might be better. This doesn't give anyone like doesn't give an excuse to, like, for any the maybe not so great behavior that comes from it. But this applies to sister missionaries too. But a mission, like, you go on your mission like 2 years or 18 months, and it's awesome, right? And it's super fun and it's the best, but you're super isolated, right? And then you come back home and they're like, all right, like, go on dates and stuff. And you are just so socially awkward and you have no idea what you're doing. And you just flounder. And you make a lot of mistakes.
And silly choices.
Yeah, because you have no idea what you're doing. You're just you're doing your best to feel your way through it. And so I'd say just have a lot of patience with guys who might make less than great decisions. And like if give them like 5 months and they'll be better. Not great, but they'll be better.
Well, the problem is they want to get married
They're
within that
already
5
gonna
months.
be married
So
by
it's
that
true.
time.
And it's like, this is like, if I have any advice for like return missionaries, just go like date a lot. I'm a big advocate for that. But just go on lots of first dates. Just get to know lots of people.
Does this sound familiar, Bob?
Yes. So is that what you have done?
It is. It is. That's what I tried to do. Coming right off my mission, and I had a ton of fun with it. And like on the date, like no one wants to have a 5-hour first date. That's just not it. Like, it never goes well. Like, go.
All these girls are shaking their heads no
Yes.
right now.
Like,
Yeah.
take people out for ice cream, like hour tops. Like, get to know them, super fun. And that's really like why we date, is to get to know people.
Yeah.
And it's fun.
So Bailey, you told me a story the other day that I need to have you talk about. And then I think this just gives you some idea of what Chance was just saying. There is this awkward moment, and it's after your mission. And you and I have talked about this, Bob, where they don't date. They've been told not to date. Then they go on a mission, and then all of a sudden they're told to go get married.
Yeah.
And they're extremely awkward. And Chance talked about it really well, and that is they just flounder. They just don't know what to do. And so, Bailey, you were talking about something the other day, just kind of made me laugh. Can you tell that story for us?
Yeah, so there was an elder from my mission, and I served with him for quite a long time. We were in the same, he was my AP/district leader for like 9 months. So we were together for 9 whole months, and it never was anything like more than just he was my priesthood leader and I was a sister missionary. It wasn't,
As it should be.
As it should be. So when he went home, it was kind of a shock to me that he kind of like professed his love to me. And
What?
when I came home, and I will say this too, is your missionary self is not the same thing as your RM self. And you have to find, and we're talking about that period, right?
Right.
Of like trying to figure out who your RM self is. And that takes some time. And that takes some time to figure out. And you shouldn't, hitch yourself to somebody eternally before you figure that person out.
Yeah.
Because, I came home and he felt like he knew exactly who I was. And I didn't even know who I was because I didn't know my RM self. I was still missionary Bailey. Anyway, but yeah, we went on a few dates and they were 5-hour long dates for sure. And I just kept trying, I think, because I felt like he was so cool in the mission. I was like, there has to be something there. But I couldn't figure out what was disconnected. And he did. He told me he loved me. He said the words, "I love you," on our second date.
So this is more than the Christ-centered love that we all have for each other as brothers and sisters. This
Yeah.
was romantic. I love you
I love
and
you.
want to be with you for the rest of eternity
Yeah.
kind of love.
And granted, we had known each other for months prior to that, but that doesn't
That's
mean
missionary no.
anything.
No.
Yeah, that doesn't mean anything. You shouldn't come home and profess your love within a second date.
I like what she said. The missionary you and the RM you.
Yeah.
And I think that's true for
Well,
sisters
and
too.
then there's
right?
also
Yeah, yeah.
the pre-missionary you.
Oh,
You
yeah,
know,
we should
there's-
bring that one in as
yeah,
well.
You know that. So I just want to know, what was your reaction when he said that? Other than what happened next? I wish we could have had a picture of your face at that moment.
Yeah, so I just didn't say anything back.
That's not good for him.
I just kind of sat there and I was like, okay, thanks. I think I said thank you.
Thank you.
You didn't say, yeah, love you too. You
Yeah.
know, 'cause-
Yeah, I didn't.
Back at you.
yeah, you know.
Finger guns.
I think I did, yeah, thank him. And then I went home that night. And then later on, I mean, I had seen him at other, mission reunions and things like that. And he had texted me a few times. And he did say, I told you that I loved you. And I could tell that you were a little freaked out by that.
Wow,
He's
that's
like,
good. That's a good
"But-
plus. The
but-"
perception was there.
But he did say, but I don't take it back.
Whoa.
Oh,
So
And
it just got to be a lot.
And you're
Wow.
not. You're beyond that now. Way beyond that.
Yeah, way beyond that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, now you're married to someone
Yeah.
else. So.
No, that
I think she's moved on.
Yeah.
you have
Wow.
moved on.
I have moved on.
well, and it's kind of, we throw around that word love a lot in our church. I don't say throw around, but we use that word a lot because we do love other people. But it's a much different thing than a romantic love that it seems to be what he intended to say. So are you assuming that he was in love with you when you were missionaries?
I can't speak for him, but I would assume so. And like I said, it was just because I think he felt like he did love me because he knew me for such a long period of time.
Right.
But he didn't really know me.
Right.
He knew missionary. We knew each other as missionaries.
Right.
Right.
And that's just not real life, you know? So it's really not. You live in such a bubble when you're a missionary. So to return missionaries, even if you're not, pursuing somebody who you served with, this goes for anybody. It's just like when you come home from your mission, like you really aren't yourself. Or if somebody else comes home from their mission, they really aren't themselves. It takes some time to figure out who you are.
Right, good point.
Off the mission. And so you can't just jump into loving somebody because they don't even know who they are. You don't even know who they are.
Right. Okay, Chance. We're just gonna bounce back to Chance and let him.
just back and forth. At least so this, what I definitely saw this happen on my mission as well. I think it goes back to really what really if the guy went on like a lot of dates in high school, or honestly if he had like sisters maybe. A lot of guys didn't have a lot of interactions with girls before the mission.
Yeah.
They just didn't. And then all of a sudden they're like on a mission and like working like tightly with these like sister missionaries, and you're like serving God, and it's awesome.
And you're like, girls.
Yeah, like it's true though. It's like in your head you're like, wow, I think this girl kind of likes me because we're with each other all the time, and like we're talking about God, which is good.
And I feel the spirit.
Yeah, and it's true though. Like if you didn't like date a ton in high school or didn't have like a lot of interactions with girls, you can definitely, your head can run away with that and be like, oh my gosh, I think I love her. And in your head, maybe, but it's just not. I don't know. It's smoke and mirrors.
And what would
know?
you tell these boys when they come home? What would you tell them?
I think just exactly what Bailey said. Really figure out who you are as a person. You really have to know that before you can really figure out who like anyone else is to really know if you love that person. So definitely still like when you get home, go on dates, like get to know people, but get to know yourself as well. If that makes sense.
I think one of the problems is that every once in a while, this actually works. And you always hear this story of the couple that they came home from their missions and they went on one date and they knew that was the person they were going to be with for the rest of their life. And so that story is just, I mean, it's a great story, love at first sight.
It works out well for some people.
And I'm sure it's a very small slice of the pie that it actually works out well. But unfortunately, we do have that reality that does sometimes happen. And so it could happen to you, you know. And so, but the reality is, in any kind of a situation, you need to develop a relationship with someone. And that doesn't usually happen in a moment.
Or on a mission.
Or especially on a mission, when you're in an environment that's not, we're not really ourselves when we're missionaries. Sometimes we're the best version of ourselves, but not the realistic version of ourselves, because we have different interests that we don't express on our mission. You know, we like certain music that we don't play. We like certain sports that we're not involved in. And none of us are perfect, and it's really good to get to know that. So does this stigma that we have of it does work sometimes make you a little afraid to date returned missionaries?
Lauren, what do you think?
Yes.
Claire jumps in real quick.
Yeah, I mean, I think it makes it, especially in Provo, I found that it's really easy to like skip steps in your brain, you know, whether you're a guy or a girl. And it's just like, oh, well, like I'm on this date and it's, you know, let's say it's a first date. And by the end of the night, you're like, oh, well, like, I don't know, but like, I definitely couldn't see myself marrying this person. Like that goes on in my brain. But like, so then I'm just like, wait a second, I don't know this person.
Right.
Like I have not even given them a fair shot. And so I think really until you're like 5 or 6 dates in, if you're really like thinking that you're interested in the person, like I don't think that you need, like I think it's okay to give yourself permission to take the pressure of marriage off.
Oh, please, yes.
Like that, like I think just having that permission is even like half the battle too.
Yeah, I like what you said about skipping steps, and I think that happens a lot. There are a lot of steps that go into developing and building a relationship, and marriage is even further down the road. But developing that relationship, whether it be friend or even into a boyfriend-girlfriend kind of situation. Claire, what were you going to say? Claire has that look in her eye. By the way, I was supposed to tell Claire's mother hi.
Oh,
Hi, Mom. How's it
Aurora,
going?
Colorado. We've got
Yeah.
a lot of listeners there in Aurora.
Yeah, I'm sure we do.
Yeah.
At least one. Actually, she lives in Connecticut.
Oh,
But,
Even better, reaching out nationwide.
yes, we are. Wow, East Coast.
but yeah, I mean, I agree with Lauren on that. Like, you just need to give yourself permission to take the pressure of marriage off. And I think it's definitely made me apprehensive to date, because I have heard tons of those stories where, you know, you go on the first date and they tell you that they love you or like stuff like that. And I think that when we skip steps, it's like, oh, we go on a few dates and then we get engaged. There's like an entire relationship that should probably happen in the air like that. I mean, and it doesn't necessarily have to be like, you know, 3 years of dating before you guys get married, or like years and years of getting to know each other, but like you should have like a relationships where you get to know each other, and so you can like learn how the other person functions. Because I've heard like tons of stories of like people who will get married super quick, and then they're like things will happen that they're like, oh my gosh, I had no idea that they did this, or like I had no idea, because living with them is different, or oh, I had no idea, like I didn't know anything about this part of them or anything like that. And it's not necessarily bad, and obviously they can work through it and stuff, but like those are things that you can find out if you just like take a moment to be in a relationship with that person and just like get to know them. Like you don't need to go, oh, first date, second date, third date, fourth date,
marriage,
engaged. Like that's just not how it should be.
She's very wise.
She is.
She's the youngest one here.
Well, age is just a number.
It's true.
Why do you think that we have so much pressure in our culture for people to get married so quickly? Do you think it's just ingrained? 'Cause, you know, there's nowhere in the scriptures or doctrinally that gives an age that says, you know, if you're not married by this age, you're a bad person. Why do you think that we have this pressure, especially here in the university setting?
Should we ask the married one?
Yes.
From my experience with this same elder, I think that a lot of men in Provo have like a winner's mentality. And it comes even when they're on their mission, like they're killer missionaries. They're AP. They're zone leader. They win. They like, you know what I'm saying? And then when they come home, a lot of them do like summer sales too. They go, they knock doors. They do awesome.
High pressure.
They make 6 figures in 3 months. Like they're just winners. And so when it comes to dating, I feel like they feel a lot of pressure to like make it happen because they're winners.
Got to make that quota.
Yeah. So like when in my experience, this guy that was trying to pursue me, he could not take no for an answer, like because he's never been told no in his life. Like he was AP for months. He was like successful. He like had his whole life planned out. So when this girl of his dreams or whatever was telling him no, it like shocked his world. And so he just tried harder and it was even more scary.
Becomes very awkward then.
Yeah.
Lauren, what do you think? Why is this age thing such a pressure? Why is there such a pressure on, if you don't get married now, you're not going to be able to get married? I mean, we've heard that a lot.
Yes.
If I leave BYU, I'm never getting married.
Well, and there's some, if you look at the numbers, there's a lot more people your age who are single who belong to your same faith and have commonalities with you when you're here at the university than when you move to Sheboygan or someplace, and you go to the singles ward there and they're all 40 years old, And so there is some truth to that this is kind of the mecca of dating in the LDS culture. So you can see why there'd be that pressure on because you have a lot of opportunities to meet somebody here.
I think it's a lot of like the unintentional pressures.
Oh, yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So like family, like if you have siblings that are already married that are older than you, but maybe they're only like 2 years older than you, then it's like, oh, well, like I got to get moving, you know? Or like your friend group. If you're with your friends and all of your friends get married and you're the only one who's
then you're an
single,
outcast.
Yeah.
then it's just like, well, what do I do with myself? Like I must not be good enough.
What's wrong
I must
with
not.
me?
Yeah, what's wrong with me? Because apparently nobody wants this,
Boy,
and so it's just
that's really
like,
scary.
I think it's more so the unintentional pressures. And then in addition to that, like we are a religious school that has people from all over the world where they haven't had a lot of people their age in this age of their life. And so it's like, oh, well, like I'm going to find my wife here and then we'll move back or we'll settle. We're settlers. We'll settle in Utah.
Come to BYU to get me a woman.
Right.
Right.
And I think there's a lot of truth to that, even though it kind of sounds corny.
Okay, let's go to the boy.
Hi.
Let's just refer to him as a man now.
The man.
Thank you. I appreciate
the
that.
The single
I
man.
got an upgrade in my title.
Yeah.
Thank goodness. I definitely think there is that. There's definitely that pressure with like a lot of people, where it feels like, oh, when I like go away from BYU and I haven't like found someone to marry, it's like, oh, I failed and they're gonna die alone and it's gonna suck. But that's just not true. But I think anyone who like has the desire, like who wants to get married, like at some point in the future, I think just the more people you meet, the more opportunities you have to find someone who you can develop like a real relationship with. And I'm just going to keep coming back to this, like with guys and girls at BYU, like ask lots of people on first dates. And if it goes well, go for a second date, but just like meet lots of cool people and learn what you like, what you don't like. And I don't know. That's like things will always work out.
He's a plant. I planted him.
I don't know what you're talking about.
And then what about this menace to society thing, Bob? You and I grew up in a time.
I think back in the days of the farm culture, that back in the early settling of the state of Utah, that there was kind of this idea that if you didn't get married and start producing children so that you could work on the farm, you were a menace to society. But I think we've come quite a ways from that. Have you heard
that before?
Yeah, they say that in Pride and Prejudice.
Oh,
so.
Yes.
She's like, I had to marry him. I'm like 20 to 24. I don't know, 28 maybe.
I don't want to be an old maid.
Exactly.
I'm 23 years old and I'm not married. And it's interesting that pressure does exist. and it's kind of a cultural pressure. It's not something that we're actually teach people, but it just still exists. And maybe it's because you associate marriage with value. And so if you feel insecure, you think, well, if somebody loves me enough to marry me, I must be of value. And so it's too bad that we have that as the issue, because we all have value, and being married to someone is a great thing, but it doesn't necessarily increase your value over when you weren't married.
It's true.
Right.
Bailey, last words? Any advice?
My advice as somebody who's been a return missionary, dated, and then got married in a very natural way, I would say that it happens when it happens. And it sounds cheesy, but it really is like God's timing. Like sometimes it does happen for people like really quickly off your mission, and sometimes it doesn't for others. And like Bob was saying, like it doesn't determine your value, like the faster it is. So it really doesn't make that big of a difference in the scope of eternity if you get married a year off your mission versus 4 years off your mission.
Or 10 years.
Or 10 years.
Yeah.
It's just long. I think that it's bad when you stop trying. And I think that as long as you're trying and you're doing your best to be a good human being that like goes out and meets as many human beings as possible, other human beings as possible, like you're going to be just fine.
Now I've got a good question to end on.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. So what's your husband's name?
His name is Gib.
Gib. And how long have you been married?
We've been married for a year.
A year. Okay. So when, do you remember, I'm sure, when did Gib tell you that he loved you?
It was a few months. I would say 6 months or so.
And what was the difference between that moment and the second date moment?
Yeah, good question. I think the difference was that we both knew it. Like we both felt it. It was like this unspoken thing between us two, and it just took him like saying it out loud to make it more real or to make it further our relationship. But it was something that we both like knew and felt for each other. It wasn't like just I love you and will you be with me forever? Like just putting it out there in the open.
He really didn't even need to say it, did he?
Yeah, exactly.
Because you both felt it.
Yeah.
That's great.
As opposed to just you not feeling it at all.
Or saying it to like try to rope you in further.
Right. To make the sale.
Yeah, exactly. Close the sale.
Well, glad it worked out.
Thank you.
Me too.
Congratulations.
Chance, any last words for these guys? I mean, you've said just date a lot of people.
Yeah. I think everything that Bailey said was awesome. I think really it's hard. It's easier said than done, of course, but just trust that God has a plan for you and that it's like the best scenario for you in your future, and like it's going to be great. Like it might not seem so now, but it's going to be great. But I've talked, I feel like, mostly to the men.
Well, that's why you're here.
Podcast. I know, that's why I'm here. I'm going to take a sidestep and just talk to the girls, the women who listen to this podcast. Now, this is also easier said than done, but I think that something that would really help the Provo dating culture is if girls asked more guys out on dates.
Yes, here.
I don't think there's a single guy who wouldn't enjoy being asked out on a date by a cute girl, because it's like it's so easy. You know, they already kind of like you. You don't have to do the asking yourself, which means you can't get rejected. And they'll probably, like, if it sucks, you'll probably get some ice cream out of it. So it's like, I don't know. It's just
It's a win-win.
I just think that would a lot of good. A lot of people would meet a lot of great people that way.
Good. Lauren, last words?
Just
Or last advice?
Yeah, just be real, be genuine with people. I think when you're nervous, it's easy to say stupid things. But like, I think when you have more confidence in who you are as a person, then it really, you're more enjoyable to be around and people like you more. But like, I don't know, you just feel better about yourself. And so then like the value of the date or like the outcome of the date won't determine how you feel about yourself.
Good. Excellent. Claire, bring us home here.
One thing I've been thinking about is just like I know that the church values marriage and family so highly, and that is something that is so important to our church and our religion, and the gospel. But we need to remember that, like, that is so important, but it doesn't have to be right now. Like, it's okay if that's something you want and that's something you should work towards, but it doesn't have to be the first thing that comes along. Like,
Right.
and I say this all the time, like, you should never settle for someone who you're like, oh, well, they're okay, but, like, I don't know if anyone really better is going to come along, so I guess that it'll be okay, like, if I just stay with this guy forever. And I'm like, okay, well, but you can, if you build yourself up to be who you want to be and who you just, want to be for the rest of your life, then you will be able to find someone that is good for you, and you'll be able to find that, because that's what God wants for us. Like, he wants us to be happy. He wants us, and he has this plan for us, and it's not, you don't have to really stress about, getting it done as quick as possible.
Excellent. Bob?
Yeah, it's been delightful to
I
have
would
all
say
of you
this
here
is
today and
amazing.
to bare your souls with your funny stories and to try to defend the male gender. I respect you for that attempt.
I'm amazed at the spirits of these four.
Well,
It's
it's
amazing.
It's unfortunate, but yet it's wonderful that we can laugh about it. Because it is funny. It's tragic on one side, but it is funny on the other. Your awkward moments are entertaining to us. So. Thank you for that. But,
thank you guys for being here.
Thank you so much for
this
coming.
has been absolutely
guys.
wonderful. Hey, and everybody listening out there, thanks for listening. Come back again next week. And hey, just go out and have fun, would you?